Right, going back to the big story we're tracking here on Wion, well, is one of 4 days after the dastardly Pulwama attack. Now, 4 Indian Army personnel, including a major, have been martyred in an exchange of fire in Pulwama's Pinglan area. Among those martyred is also a head constable and 2 sepoys. All 4 army men belong to 55 Rashtriya Rifles. 1 civilian has also been killed. Now, according to reports, topmost Jaish commander for Kashmir, Kamra, along with 2 terrorists, are holed up at Pinglan. The encounter in the Pinglan area started this morning after Indian armed forces launched a cordon and search operation after getting information about the presence of the terrorists in the area. All right, my colleague from Srinagar, Ishan Mani, continues to be with us on the phone line from Srinagar. Ishan, now walk us through the developments that have taken place all morning today. For the benefit of viewers who might just be tuning in, what is happening in Pinglan as we speak, and what are you learning from your sources on the ground?
Well, remember then early morning, it was at the night time when the forces and the militants exchanged a gunfire after specific inputs that the forces had about the presence of these militants in a particular village in Pulwama district. Now remember, this village is not far from the place where this particular attack took place, when the CRPF convoy was attacked by a suicide bomber, killing at least 40 CRPF Jawans. Now after that, there was a brief lull, and after 4 hours of lull, there has been a fresh exchange of gunfire. What we are learning from our sources is that the militants were able to change their position, location from that particular house to another house. A civilian has also died. Remember, 4 army Jawans have lost their lives after they were injured in the exchange of gunfire. They were quickly evacuated to the Army's 92 base hospital, where later they succumbed to their injuries. Now sources indicate that 1 more army Jawan has been injured, who is in a critical condition. But after the attack and after the gunfire, there has been reports that a Kamra, who is the top Jaish Mohammed commander, has been Pakistan based, who was in Raleigh and has been the mastermind of this attack and several other attacks, is among those people who have been trapped in this particular house. Remember, the indication of this is from the fact that the 4 army Jawans have suffered injuries, have actually died. And this indicates to us a possibility that how, this person is trained at carrying out attacks and, in the modern combat and modern warfare. Given the fact the forces did not suffer any casualty in the last month or 2 in these encounters which erupted during the night, but this time around they have suffered casualty, and this points towards the fact that someone trained, someone expert has been trapped into that particular house. Now the exchange of fire is going on. We don't know if anybody has been killed so far from the militant side, but the exchange is going on and the entire area is sealed. Mobile internet services are suspended. Now we'll have to wait and watch that how much time does the security forces take to conclude this operation. Obviously, they don't want to take any chances. They want to go easy on that particular operation, but make sure that nobody from the encounter site escapes. That's why a wider cordon has been laid. The CRPF are covering the outer cordon. Jammu and Kashmir police and the army are conducting this particular operation.
Right, and Ishan, while we continue to track the latest developments from Pinglan in Pulwama, I want us to take a step back and go over the last week's incident in Pulwama. And in the immediate aftermath of that attack, we saw a couple of measures being taken. And now we are given to understand that going forward, the Indian government will airlift the paramilitary personnel as opposed to making them move on the ground. And the latest decision also being taken by the Indian government is to remove the security personnel attached to the separatist elements in Srinagar. What are you learning about that news as of this morning?
Oh, well, there have been several steps taken by the government as an immediate measure to control these attacks. Remember, this stretch of highway has come under attack from time to time. And since then, there have been breaches in the security across the highway. Remember, there was an input about the presence of, conducting of an enemy encounter or militants trying to carry out any suicide attack on the forces camp. But there have been fingers pointed at the intelligence failure. At the same time, there were reports that the CRPF had sought help from the Home Ministry, saying that they should be airlifted, which was refuted by the Home Ministry later, that they did not receive any such communication. Remember, the stretch of highway has been stressful for the security forces, despite the presence of the QRT teams, the specialized teams of the CRPF to, sanitize the entire highway, have been there. But at the same time, despite that, there have been encounters, hit and run cases by the militants who try to attack the forces and run away from the spot. So this has been an ongoing process, but one has to wait and watch, because this will not be easy to airlift all the CRPF Jawans, and also given the fact the elections are going to be held this year, hopefully in the Kashmir Valley, and that will lead a lot of security personnel coming to Kashmir Valley. So airlifting those security personnel to Kashmir Valley would be really hectic. At the same time, Rajnath Singh announced that there will be a stopping of all the civilian movement on the highway when the security forces are passing through that area. And that is something which is going to, lead to traffic jams and all that. But at the same time, that has been implemented. We saw yesterday on the stretch of highway, the security force has stopped these vehicles, and they're facilitating the army convoy to pass through the particular area. Now, as an immediate measure, also security has been withdrawn from the four separatists, which includes Mirwais Umar Farooq, Bilal Ghani Lone, Abdul Ghani Butt, and the other leader has been removed. And there has been, the PHQ has been told police has been told, given specific orders to actually, prepare a list of those separatists who enjoy the security and other facilities from the government. Now, there have been 4 people Mirwais security has been withdrawn. But at the same time, the security angle is also that they also face threats from the militants from time to time. Mirwais' father has been somebody who has been killed reportedly by the Pakistan-backed militants in the Kashmir Valley. So that may possibly be a problem for the security forces. But there are more steps that will be taken in the coming days.
Right, and also as we watch these visuals coming to us from Pinglan area in Pulwama, Ishan, what do we know about the Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorist who is supposed to be holed up in Pinglan as we speak, Kamran, and his aides who are also with him as we speak? What do we know about Kamran as of this moment?
Well, what we know from the sources is that Kamran was someone who had come to infiltrate in the Kashmir Valley in the month of October, and he was active since then. Sources have also told us that he is top police sources actually confirming that Kamran could be Ghazi, and he could be the person who is a mastermind of this particular attack, who had carried out this attack. Remember, there were reports from the day one from the top sources that along with Ghazi, Kamran was a person who was involved in this particular attack, and he was the one who planned it. Remember, this also will be success for the security forces in terms of stopping these attacks on the highway, because from the last 3 decades, we didn't see any huge attack like this taking place in the Kashmir Valley. So that is why his neutralizing will be something which will be cheered by the security forces, because there haven't been many attacks taking place on the highway like this we witnessed some time back.
All right, Ishan, do stay with us. I'm told we are now joined by Mr. S.P. Vaid, a former police chief of Jammu and Kashmir. Mr. Vaid, thank you for joining us on Wion World is One this morning. Your first thoughts on the ongoing gun battle in Pulwama as we speak. What are your thoughts about why and how that encounter may have begun?
The security forces were on the lookout for these perpetrators who were behind this attack, and I'm very confident they will track them down and neutralize them. It is very essential that we neutralize them.
And Mr. Vaid, you've been a long-time watcher of the security developments in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, what are your first impressions about the modus operandi of the terrorist groups, in particular Jaish-e-Mohammed? We've heard the case of Adil Dar, who was involved in the Pulwama attack of last week, and how the terrorist group and JEM in particular is luring Kashmiri local youth to front those attacks. Do you think this is a fallout of the tightening or the crackdown on the terrorist groups by the intelligence agencies and personnel on the ground?
Absolutely. In fact, last 1 year, there has been huge successes to the security forces, and almost the leadership was eliminated, and feeling the heat, they had gone for a attack of the type of what we saw a few days back in Pulwama, demonstrative attack just to show their capability, and involving local youth is basically with the aim to show it's all being orchestrated by the JEM from across, but it is to show the rest of the world that all this is happening by the local boys and give it a local flavor.
Also, Mr. Vaid, we've seen reports of the families and relatives of the martyrs of the paramilitary personnel and others who are asking the government in New Delhi to take strong, concrete action on the ground against those responsible for the Pulwama attack. So in your estimation as a former DGP of Jammu and Kashmir, what are the policy options before the government in New Delhi, and what could take place or happen going forward to assuage the people's concerns that such attacks will not be tolerated going forward?
It will not be appropriate for me to talk on behalf of the government. The options with the government, they have many options with them. In fact, all those will be tried by the authorities in position. But let me mention this, that there is huge anger in the country, and the common man in the country is feeling that now it's the time that we demolish these terrorist groups and ensure peace for the general masses.
Right. Also, Mr. Vaid, very quickly, now we're told that one of the terrorists called Kamra and two others are currently holed up in Pinglan area. What do we know about these terrorists? What information do we possibly have at this moment in time?
That's what I have also learned from the media, but I think it will be more appropriate if officers in the field are asked about their presence and other things. I have reports only through the media. So it is very essential that this Kamra and his two associates are eliminated.
Right, and also very quickly, Mr. Vaid, I want to ask you, as a former DGP, as a former police chief, one who has seen such instances or incidents from close quarters, how does the police, the paramilitary, and the army keep their morale up in such circumstances? What do you think should be done to keep their morale high and to assure them that the government and the people are with them in this hour of grief?
We have actually security coordination meetings, and at different levels the interaction takes place of the army, CRP and police and other forces involved. The morale, let me tell you, morale of the forces is very, very high, and they know that the whole nation is with them and the government is with them. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Vaid, thank you so much for joining us on Wion World this morning. Appreciate it. All right, I'm told another former DGP of Jammu and Kashmir, Mr. M.M. Khajuria, is joining us on the phone line. Mr. Khajuria, thank you for joining us on Wion World is One. Appreciate it. Let me begin by asking you about your first impressions, your first thoughts on this ongoing gun battle in Pinglan area of Pulwama, the very place where the attack took place last week, in which 40 CRPF personnel were martyred. Your thoughts, Mr. Khajuria, this morning?
You see, first thing we must remember that this is an encounter which is taking place on our initiative. We have gone after them. We have identified them. They are being holed up in that house. Now it's unfortunate, as you lost precious lives. There have probably been some technical error, but that's a matter which will be looked into in due course of time. Now, the basic issue is that we should stop beating our breasts and take this enemy head on, both Pakistan as such and the Wahhabis and their supporters within the Kashmir, because we're wasting our energy on issues which are not very relevant. The nation has a right to mourn. The nation should mourn, but mourning should be accompanied by an anger and demanding accountability from the government. These things don't seem to be happening, and that's not good for the nation, in my opinion. Secondly, as far as this particular attack is concerned, this is obviously going to take some time. This is an area where the population has been ideologically radicalized. Incidentally, that's the area which we have not addressed so far. We are, in fact, as I have said earlier also, we are chopping off the branches but the root of the disease are very much there. So unless we join issues on all the three fronts, that is operations, ideological and political, the progress is going to be very little. We will be moving around in circles and circles.
Right. Mr. Khajuria, you made some very valid points. You say that Indians are justifiably angry. Indians are mourning the loss of lives in last week's attack and also this morning in the encounter which is happening as we speak in Pinglan, in Pulwama. But you also say that India must take this head on. Now, could you elaborate what possible options or policy options would be there in front of the policymakers in Delhi as we speak in order to take these terrorists and their handlers head on?
Number one is that action we take against the Pak supporters and separatists should have been much more comprehensive. Now we have withdrawn the security from the second grade leadership, except Mirza Farooq. Why Gilani and Yasin Malik have been left out? That's a question that every Kashmiri is asking. Now they say that either they are mixed up with the Indian security settlement, or the Kamra of India is afraid of them. Now this is an issue on which the psychologically the impact is that Kamra of India is hesitant and does not have the courage to take these people head on. As far as Pakistan is concerned, we are repeatedly talking morning to evening that we will teach them a lesson. Well, we are going to teach them a lesson. Prime Minister made a statement once. That should be good enough. Army should obviously have been the task. They are working on that, and they will take strike at the right time, at the right place of their choosing. Patently, also something that occurs is the first thing that probably needs to be done is that we should take out all the launching pads on which the terrorists operate. Secondly is how can we manage to destroy their training apparatus within Pakistan or within occupied Kashmir. There are a number of options the army perhaps could take, but we should not take too long. People are getting impatient because they find these brave soldiers, dead bodies coming wrapped in tricolor, and they are sick of seeing these sights. Unless some concrete action is taken quickly, and which gives them the nation the idea that we are on the top. That today in Kashmir the feeling is that Indian state is on retreat. But that is something which has to be corrected very quickly, both inside Kashmir and inside the country. Lastly, we have to ensure that the Kashmiri people do not get totally eliminated from us, both as our policy within Kashmir and ensuring the safety and security of the Kashmiri students and Kashmiri salesmen working in the rest of the country.
All right, Mr. Khajuria, thank you for joining us on Beyond World is One. Appreciate it, and thank you for sharing your thoughts about the situation obtaining in Jammu and Kashmir this morning. Thank you so much. All right, I'm told my colleague Ishan continues to stay with us from Srinagar, and he joins us live now from Srinagar. Ishan, if you can hear me, I'm told that the forces have made some headway in the encounter as we speak. Walk us through the latest information that you're getting from the ground.
Well, the latest from the ground is that the place where they were hiding has been blown, and forces believe that they have killed all the militants who were hiding inside that particular house. But the bodies haven't been recovered yet, so that's a success for the security forces. They have been trying to corner them since the morning time, and what we know from the sources from the ground, who are on the ground zero, have told us that the house has been blasted where they were hiding, and they could be retrieving the body shortly. Remember, the name of Kamra has emerged as the person who was involved in this particular attack that that was carried out on the CRPF convoy some days back, and he was the main person who had conspired against that particular attack on the directions of Masood Azhar. Since then, Kamran was someone who had come to Kashmir in October and infiltrated into Kashmir Valley, and since then the forces were looking out for him, including the other person called Ghazi. So they were being chased from a long time now, and the forces had a tip off about their presence. Remember, sources told us yesterday that an investigation and also possible leads were being nailed by them from some days, given the fact this was a big blow to the security forces, and forces wanted to corner these people who were behind this particular attack. So today, if they find the dead body of Kamran, which according to top sources was among those people who was trapped in that particular attack, and possibly the indication of such is from the fact that force Jawans lost their lives in that particular attack, in that particular encounter. So this will be a big success for the security forces and something which will be cheered by them.
Indeed. Ishan, hold your thoughts. I want to recap for the benefit of our viewers who might just be tuning in. 3 pieces of information trickling in this moment as we speak. First, the house in which the terrorists were supposed to be holed up has been blasted. 2, Indian forces believe that the terrorists are killed. And 3, their bodies, however, are yet to be recovered. These are the latest information coming in from Pinglan area of Pulwama, where an encounter started this morning in which 4 Indian Army personnel, including a major, have been martyred and 1 civilian has also been killed. And the latest news coming in from Pulwama this morning as we speak is that the security forces have blasted that house in which the terrorists were holed up. The forces believe that they have killed the terrorists holed up inside, but their bodies are yet to be recovered. That's the latest coming in from Pulwama as we speak. All right, I'm told we are now joined by another of our guests on the phone line, Major General A.J.B. Jenny. Good morning, Major General. Thank you for joining us on Wion World is One. The latest news coming in from Pulwama this morning as we speak is that the terrorists may have been killed in that operation. But your thoughts first on why and how this encounter came about in the first place and India's calibrated, proportionate response to it.
Let me make, besides firstly, express my heartiest sympathies and my salute to the brave sons of soil, the 4 of them, 3 Jawans and the brave officer who have laid down the lives for the honor of our flag and the country this morning at Pulwama. Now, let me make 2-3 quick points. Firstly, after the ghastly incident at Pulwama in which we lost so many of the CRPF, our CRPF boys, whatever the counter actions have been taken by India, Pakistan is under tremendous pressure. They have no answer. They are going begging around the world, trying to save their face and wash the shit which has been thrown on their own faces. So therefore, all the Akas, the stooges, the sleeper cells of Pakistan who are already in the valley will do their best to propagate the policy of 100 and 1,000 cuts. So this today, what has happened in the morning is also one of those cuts, which is the state policy of low-intensity conflict by Pakistan, because they do not have the guts to fight face to face. So this dirty, behind the back, low-intensity conflict, this is one of those incidents. The second point I want to make is, after the government's action on the Hurriyat and the anti-national elements withdrawing their security and putting their backs against the wall, these are the fellows. This is the enemy within, which was doing all this. So they will be desperate now. It's exciting and spreading hatred in all their sources to create such damage as has happened this morning. Because these were the guys who were comfortably sitting with security and with the shelter and an umbrella over their head. They need to be exposed. They need to be sorted out nice and proper. But third thing which I want to make is, the security forces are already on the alert. No alert can be 100% foolproof, watertight or airtight. Such incidents will continue till such time. And that's my last point. Till such time we teach Pakistan the cost and consequences of what they are doing. You must realize the cost and also the natija, the consequences of what they are doing. For which the Cabinet Committee of Security is already given a green signal. The planning, I am sure, must be going on. It cannot be divulged. More than this cannot be spoken by security people. But I am sure that our brave Indian Army and security forces will teach these bloody men a bloody lesson of their life. And Pakistan will be, I would say, one day they're only looking forward to be washed off this map of the world. They will be given such a bloody befitting response to this nonsense that they have been doing, because enough is enough, and time has now come to give them not only just ek ke badle 10 star and eat ka jawab patthar se, they have to be disseminated. They have to be absolutely put right for life, so that this problem of Kashmir is over. We need to abrogate Article 370.
Right.
We have got the Pakistan of Kashmir, which is our Kashmir and not their Kashmir. They are the occupants of illegal occupants of Kashmir. Let us get into POK, bomb these bloody rascals there, use our air force, have a bloody firefight, let all the guns let loose on them, and teach them a lesson of their life.
All right, Major General A.J.B. Jenny, thank you so much for joining us on Wion World is One. There you heard it from him. He says enough is enough, and that India needs to impose costs on the perpetrators of the terrorist attack in Pulwama of last week, and also of the encounter which has, we are told, has just about to conclude in Pulwama again this morning.